Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. So, today we are going to talk about all the noise and all the things going on. And I'm Dottie Posto, if you haven't met me before, if you're new to this broadcast, and I coach women leaders and I help them end burnout, end the overwhelm, end the chaos, end the noise to restore their body, mind, and spirit and live the life that they would just love to be living versus the stress, the overwhelm. So, first, I want to go over a few things about like what is causing all this noise. You know, a lot of us are just there's just so much going on. And here it is the end of coming towards the end of summer here in the northern hemisphere, and we've been busy. There's a lot going on. Here in the Milwaukee area, we've got state fair, kids have camps, there's vacations, there's all of this stuff to do. And we often have these recurring thoughts we think about in our head. Oh, if it just weren't this way, if it could be different, if things could slow down, or if things could be different, um, if people could be different, if the circumstances, if people at work could be different, if people didn't have these expectations, these kinds of things. And when we think those thoughts, it creates stress. It creates a lot of stress and anxiety and overwhelm, and we can get to a breaking point. These thoughts are what create the stress. I was talking to a friend last night, and she had shared that there was a lot going on, that she was on a new project, and there were so many expectations, and she was brand new, and she didn't know a lot of the things that were happening on this project. It's a project that has a very fast pace turnaround in terms of development and rolling things out, every couple of weeks. And I said, there might be somebody else who would look at this same circumstance, this challenge, and be excited by it and not stressed and overwhelmed. And it took her kind of by pause that it had to be the circumstances, it had to be what was going on that was causing the stress. That often we get into this place of wanting things. So, she's very talented, very experienced, very talented product owner on an agile environment. And going into a new project where there's a big team, which is odd, and there's a lot going on, and she's coming in the middle of things and doesn't have all the background and knowledge on some of the things that are in flight. She's comfortable with all of the things that are coming that are brand new, where she's coming in from the very beginning. But when we have someone, like I told her, there's things that are going on, and how we think about them is whether we can be stressed, whether we're going to be stressed about them or not. Just so with all of the noise going on. So for her, the noise is the expectations, the things that are in flight that she doesn't know enough about to be able to answer all the questions and solve all the problems. Plus, she's so experienced, and she's been on so many different projects and has worked on legacy projects, that people come to her for questions and challenges around all of these legacy projects as well. And that is, she wants to be helpful, she wants to be supportive, she wants to meet expectations, she wants to help people out. And that is causing her stress because she can't fit it all in. And she feels like she would have to work from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. And she doesn't want to do that. But it's our thought about it. And it's being able to set those boundaries. And so really, and she's taking the steps. It's just sometimes what I've seen with her, it happened with her as she noticed, and I've seen this with many clients as well, is we let ourselves get to that breaking point. We let the stress come all the way up to a boiling point till the so uh, until the noise is so loud that it's just unbearable and we break. We get frustrated, we might lash out, we might break down and cry, and then we feel like, okay, then there's been a release and we can maybe think straight. Because when we're at this stress, this point up here, our brain shuts off our cognitive ability. Because when we're at that stress point up here, we our brain is in fight, flight, or freeze. That level of stress, that level of anxiety, that level of trying to meet unrealistic expectations, we're at a point where our amygdala, our reptilian brain, our primitive brain, whatever you want to call it, is in fight, flight, or freeze. And when that happens, our prefrontal cortex, our thinking brain, limited capacity, because our body, our brain, our primitive brain thinks that we are in danger, that we are literally going to die. And so it's sending blood away from our thinking brain and sending it to our heart so it can pump more so that we can run away or fight. And it's sending it to our large muscles so that we can run away or fight. And so we don't have this thinking brain to be able to get that calmed down. And when we release that stress, when we create some sort of a release, it brings that parasympathetic back online. However, we don't have to let it get to that point and get to a point of such high stress. We can modulate this and keep that stress at a lower, maybe it's a lower boiling point. I'm not quite sure what the right analogy is to use here, but we can keep that stress from coming up to its highest point, that when we start to feel it come, we can do several different things. One way is to pick a point on the wall and focus on it. Okay. And you can do this now if you'd like to join me. And just really intensely focus on it. And this is something that when we focus on something, like when we're focused on all these expectations and everything that's going on, and this stress starts to happen, there's an intensity that comes. But a way to relax that intensity and to bring your parasympathetic nervous system back online is to pick a point on the wall and focus on it. And then start to notice, without moving your eyes, start to notice everything in the periphery. It was amazing when I learned this technique, because I could just feel my shoulders dropping as I focus on that one point on the wall. And then I start to bring my attention, not my eyes, but just my attention to everything in the periphery. I notice some photos on the wall here. I notice my ring light over here. I notice some papers on my desk here. And it brings our focus to other things. So that's one option of a way to kind of, as you start to feel, and I really truly mean, as you feel that stress begin to rise, this takes 30 seconds. And it's something you can do while you're in a meeting. No one will know if you're looking at, you could be looking at someone across the room and then just start to move your attention out to the periphery. A second way is to just breathe. Another way is to just literally breathe. And imagine as you breathe that when you inhale, you're bringing air in from the top of your head. And as you exhale, imagine that it's just a light rain taking all of that stress and allowing it to go out through the bottom of your feet. So that's another way that we can, moment by moment, take and lower the noise, lower the stress, lower our anxiety around all of the expectations. And part of that, and what I really work with my clients on, is knowing, is being in that point of observing, so that we can see when, if this is calm and grounded, we can feel, we observe, and we can feel when that stress starts to rise. And we don't have to wait till it gets to here or here and there's an explosion, or we get sick, or we blow up at someone, or whatever it is. If we are letting that stress build, essentially it's almost like, I know I'm pushing my arms up, but it's essentially like we're ignoring it. We're not allowing it. It's there, and it's like you're pushing down a beach ball. And eventually that beach ball, you're pushing a beach ball down in the water, and eventually that beach ball is just going to pop up. And the further you push it down, the higher it's going to explode. And so we can examine our thoughts around how are we thinking about this. One recommendation I made to my friend was, can you get curious? And she's like, I don't have time to get curious, which was really an interesting comment. And it's simple. It's when somebody has an expectation, oh, you need to do a demonstration of this functionality to the business. Get curious. Oh, interesting. I don't know anything about this functionality. I'm brand new on the project. Help me understand how I'm going to come up, what are we going to do to get me up to speed so I can do this demo? Or is there someone else? Get curious. Rather than just get like, I can't believe they'd ask that. Why would they ask that? And not that she did that, but I've done that in the past, and I've seen people do that in the past, where it's just a reaction. I was talking to another client yesterday about how reactionary she is with certain types of clients, and that she had a weekend to herself, and during that weekend was with a client who normally she would get very reactionary with. And she even said herself, because she had taken time alone, her husband and son were out of town for the weekend. She had taken time alone and just spent time doing what she wanted to do. She went out and had a birthday drink, came home, walked the dog, did things that she truly wanted to do. She was in tune that weekend with her core self, with what she needed. And she was able to get the client to the next phase of the work that they're doing together. She was kind of surprised at herself and not surprised that when she was in a space where her energy was calm and grounded, and she was in tune, her mind, she had restored her mind and her body and her spirit to a place where she had the energetic blueprint. She was back to her unique energetic blueprint, where she could approach that client and not get frustrated with them, and not get angry or impatient, and was able to move that client to the next phase of the relationship, and sign the contract and move forward. So when we are in that space, when we can continue to bring ourselves back to this grounded, back to ourselves, back to who we truly are, and be able to be curious and use a few different techniques, breathing techniques, or the peripheral vision technique. These are all things you can do in a matter of minutes to bring ourselves back down. And it takes a few minutes, or it takes a few weeks maybe, or a few times over and over and over, of observing your own self, observing your thoughts, observing your feelings, so that you can sense when that stress is starting to rise. I hope this was helpful. And if you'd like more techniques, DM me and let's get on a call and talk about how we might be able to work together and I can share with you more of the assessment tools that we use in the coaching that I do and the different ways of bringing that stress back down, not just for a weekend, not just once in a while, but moment by moment, day by day. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.